Okay, so for week 7 attendance, I want to just look at the schedule from here to the end because at week 7, if you count 7, it's 7, 8, and 9. It's 3 weeks, but it's going to go really quickly. So I want to make sure you're clear on some really important changes as far as the weeks go. So I'm going to go over to the calendar. If you ever look in Canvas, it's here, but if you want to go here, you can see that today for me is the 29th. So I just finished grading your week 6. For those of you that were taking a break, for those of you that completed the code along and then the attendance. So the week I'm actually recording for, which is week 7, you see that by now your project phase 1 has been submitted, so you'll need to make sure if I've highlighted something that says you need to fix this before phase 2, you'll do that. And so in this case, phase 2 will be due during this week, okay? And then phase 3, and this is where our last code along here next week is going to be 17 and 18 in Dave's course. I've decided not to do some of the other content I had done before because I want you to focus on really at this point just building out these projects because A, they're important to your grade and to your skills. So at this point, after here, then on week 8, you're going to have 2 projects. Now these projects are still significant, but are focused on layout in this case for Flexbox and Grid, and then media queries, and then the last project step will be on the 20th, which is on the last week of the semester, where you'll actually do a couple other things and then you'll share that out. But notice how this changes as far as the normal due date, and I will have content about this next week. So I just wanted to give you that, right? And then I'll have by next week also some last time to submit late work and those type of things. So make sure you keep track with, and if you have questions, please reach out. Okay, so let's come back here to week 7 now. So that's your preview for what's coming. Over the weekend, this weekend, I was working on my project that I do because I do the work I ask you to do, and I spent about 40 minutes arguing with ChatGPT about the fact that my outliner, when I was using it, my HTML5 outliner, was telling me I had an untitled when ChatGPT said I didn't. Come to find out, this is not the best tool. And this is, one of those things you learn. And after realizing that that was the issue, I'm like, okay, I shouldn't have recommended it, but we all live and learn. So I will not be using in the future. I'll be using probably just ChatGPT. I believe there's something in DevTools that does this as well, but I'll just be copying and pasting. And there's another site you could do this with to look at that. So heads up, if I've marked you off, but you were like, no, that worked, then please reach out to me. I'd be happy to review that. Okay, so here we are. You have just finished learning about Flex, Grid, and images, right? So more about images. We'd already been introduced to them, but in this attendance post, what you're going to do is actually start working on your phase 3. And in this case, I've given you a link to the video I created over the weekend, and also the instruction, right? The instruction for what is going to be covered. And then, like I said before, this is going to be due Monday, May 12th. And this is different from the normal due dates, and that's why I wanted to go over the calendar. So now for this graded work, here's what you're going to do is you're going to use your phase 2 index at this point. Okay, you should have already submitted it, or hopefully you're doing it very soon, but whatever you had for your index file only, okay? You're just going to draft what you will hear me talk about, which might be helpful for you to actually watch that video. It's not a long one, but I'm going to talk about it here about what this means as far as a layout plan, and you're going to do it for your index file. Now, in your private repo, just create your P3 at the same level as, it should be P1 and P2. No need, and this is no need to copy over your content for phase 2 until you have finished. I realize that wording was wrong, so I'll fix it. So in other words, don't copy over your phase 2 into your P3 until you're actually done. Okay. because you may have to redo that if there's something, and especially if you're still working on it. But in this case, you're just going to, in that P3 directory you've created, again at that same level, just create a markdown file. And this will be used, and by the way, there are definitely tools out there to help you with visual layout, but we're just going to do a very simple one. And we're going to use Markdown, right? So, and in this case, I just show you, like, list all your major sections and show how they will be organized, or show how they are organized, and then label if you're going to use flex or grid. Now, be creative but realistic. You can adjust this through your project. This is one of the things I talk about. This is your plan, and so this would be your Markdown file. So let me actually show you, right, mine that I was actually playing with. So this is the file itself where I did the markdown. Now these are examples, but in this case here was actually mine that I ended up doing. So when you're looking at it like this, you're looking at a render, basically the code for Markdown. And what I want you to do is actually do this, where you come up here, and if you didn't see me do that, while you're looking at your Markdown, you hit the little search engine with the like book in it, close this. And then here's where you take your print screen, right? So take your print screen here, and then, and I'm going to show you something that I know students have, several of you missed, and I'm going to show you a way to fix it about print screens. But take your print screens, resize it, and this is what I say in there, right? So resize it to like a 500 by whatever your proportion is in that case, right? But that's what you're taking. And by the way, here what you would want to have as a commit message for that markdown file. Sorry, I didn't say that before I moved on. So I've already talked about this. I need to take a print screen, resize it, push it to your public repo, right, our normal one, and then here's your commit message, right? Now, here's the key to this too, is that you can use, I actually, ChatGPT and I had quite a conversation about this because, you know, sometimes you would see people using Flex for page layout and then grid specifically for a section of the content to be used to put for grid, because you like, for whatever reason, you're like that better meets your particular requirements. So in this case, I've decided to allow the flexibility. Some of you may, when you went through the grid content, like that made more sense to you than Flexbox, and vice versa, right? But here's the point I'm trying to make, or I'm making, you must use, right, both of them somewhere in your layout. But by planning this, it helps you think about where you would use those, right? And again, this is a draft. You can revise it, easy for you to say, later. Okay, I should have put the points here, but that's 80 points for your print screen and having it correctly embedded. And so one of the things, if you're running into this, that I'm taking off points because you didn't embed it correctly, here's a way to know. And I hope, Mark, it's okay with you. I'm going to use yours because Mark does, I mean, there's been many good examples here, but if you come over and you hit inspect, and again, we just learned about DevTools this week. When you do that and you're on Elements, you can see here this URL, and that raw Git user content indicates that you are using GitHub, that you have indeed used the Git workflow to publish that to your public repo, and then you've embedded it. Okay, so if you're missing points on that, that's a way to see if you've done it correctly, okay? So this is worth 80 points, this is worth 20 to do a reply. So reply to somebody else's, right? And by the way, my example, like you could use something different. If you had a different way you came up with, as long as I can see, again, based on the content of your index page, right, how you're going to go about doing it, right? And you can see my header was a Flexbox, right? I had the logo was left, nav was right, my page title was below there, right? I didn't use anything as far as Flexbox there, but then actually that main section is a grid, right? And then left side is a grid by 2, so I have 2, and you can see in the video, or I cover my example site. And then the right side was Flexbox, so I used a combination in this case of my main content of of grid and Flexbox, and then the footer is Flexbox. Okay, and then I just gave this as well because it was kind of fun to actually look at, this from a quick standpoint. But for this assignment, and really even for your project, this is really what you want to have done. And again, it gives you a chance to think about the work that you're going to need to have done for that project. Anyway, and again, this is me giving you a little work to help you start thinking about that. Okay, I hope this helps you out. I'm not going to have a video for the colon because I think it speaks for itself, but there is a card project on the second part. I do give a break even though we're not doing as many chapters, but anyway, that's up to you, knowing that you also have a project phase due this week. All right, let me know if you need anything. Remember, my office hours and Zach's are listed in Simple Syllabus. Please reach out if you need help.